in the chat if you have a burning desire for hopefully the third three panelists, so that you can get your questions answered, because this is about helping you on your journey of being an entrepreneur. So we are now live. So hi, I'm Barb Stone. I am one of the counselors here at the Y Center. And what we do is we work with individuals to help you guide and build your business no matter what stage you are at. We're dedicated to helping you achieve your small business goals. And one of the things that I love about what we do here at the Wise is we try to be able to bring you the resources that you need to be able to take your business to the next level. And today we are going to be talking, this is our power hour. So we've restarted our power hour, and what it is, it's about finding the experts to be able to help you again along this journey. And we really want to talk today talk to the experts about tips on finding and securing a space for your small business. And one of the things is, as you are a business owner, you start thinking about, okay, how am I going to be starting this business? And you're going to be thinking about stages. Stages starting at home, stages starting to rent, stages starting to think about building or buying a permanent location. But what we would like to talk to you a little bit about today is to be able to allow you to get some tips to help you in that decision making and the journey of your entrepreneurship and your growth. Okay, so with that, we have some amazing panelists today, and we have Mark, and I'm not even going to try to introduce these gentlemen. And Indaria, hopefully she will make it, because they will be able to tell you more about what they do and describe themselves in a better way to reach you. So we'll start out with Mr. Mark. Mark, can you tell us about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, for sure. My name's Mark Cardone. For people who don't know me, I own Rooftop Realty Group in Liverpool, New York. I specialize in retail tenant representation. So essentially working with business owners to help them find space where their businesses are going to be profitable and thrive. We're based out of Liverpool. We just moved to a new office, so this is a good time to talk about things like that. And we work with everybody from local businesses all the way up to national. So here to answer any questions people have.
Cool. Mark, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
Yes, absolutely. Joe Violette,
Hi, good
please
morning,
introduce yourself. Yeah.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Joe. I'm with the Downtown Committee of Syracuse. I am the Director of Economic Development here. Our role, as it pertains to this conversation, is we are the downtown management organization for downtown Syracuse. So oftentimes we will hear from a current business owner or someone who wants to open a business of what it's like to do business downtown. What type of people can they expect walking through their doors? How will their business fare downtown? What types of information we can offer to help them through that process, all the way to giving them information about available properties and connecting them with the folks who represent those properties or own those properties. So we probably a few times a month will receive an email or a phone call from someone like yourself, an entrepreneur looking to move into downtown, and we compile information for them to help them make a decision, or sometimes introduce them to a real estate agent or a leasing agent, and help them with the process of moving their business into downtown. And then once they're here, we have a variety of services that are offered to the businesses and property owners downtown. So happy to be here and look forward to participating.
Yeah, great. And one of the things, gentlemen, as I'm thinking about this and somewhere along the line, please put your contact information into the chat so that if we have any individuals that are just would like to contact you and learn more about what you do and help them on their journey, we'd really like them to reach out to you if that's okay with you from there. So, Mark, let's start with you, if that's okay. I think you can handle it. Um, one of the things that, and I briefly talked a little bit about stages, maybe starting at home, then going to rent, and then, or trying to find a place, and then going and purchasing a space. But what do you think are some of the top three things that a small business owner should look for when evaluating a potential retail spot or office space for their business?
Yeah, I mean, so that's a really good question, and I'm glad you asked that. When I work with business owners, I think one of the biggest complications they have is they approach it similar to the home buying process, where they kind of say, "Well, I'm going to go on the internet, I'm going to find a space, I'm going to go look at a bunch of spaces, and I'm going to find the right one." And I think that seems to be the common practice that small business owners start with. And as working with small businesses all the way up to larger businesses, what we really, think people need to look at, and something that Joe brought up that, really hits it is, who, right, like, who am I serving? Like, that's really where all the process should start is, what customers am I trying to attract? Are they downtown? Are they in Liverpool? Are they in Clay? Are they in Buffalo? And sometimes for when people are just starting out, sometimes there's no customer, sometimes it's just an office for myself. I mean, this office, it's in the village of Liverpool because it's a block from my house, and I know I'll come to it, I know I'll use it without a tremendous amount of discipline to get here because it's kind of on my drive everywhere. Because unused space is worthless. So number one, I think, is really honing in on that customer, and making sure that who you're trying to get to, who you're trying to serve. And then number two is really just thinking, how am I using the space? Because that seems to be a disconnect where, I think when people start a business, they have these big, plans and dreams, which are great. And I think what we need to do is look at, how did those bigger businesses that you're modeling start? And I'm so fortunate to have been able to work with a lot of businesses that, food trucks that started, literally out of a pickup truck that are now multi-location restaurants. It's exciting to think about skipping those initial steps, but sometimes I think our dreams are bigger than our budget. It's important to really know what are those essential money makers in our business that we need to locate. So I think, it's not three things, it's two things, but really the customer and how we're going to use the space is like, once you hone those in, the whole process gets easier.
Like, Mark, one of the things I was thinking about was when I quit my corporate job and I decided that I was going to start my business, and I found something close to home, and mainly, and that was pre-COVID, was in 2019. But I think that one of the things it did for me was it was 10 minutes down the road, but it gave me the discipline to going and working. And that's really what I needed to do. And then eventually, seeing clients there, because that's what I was doing as a coach and wanting to bring them. But let me ask you this one question. I want to build on that. At what point in time is a good time to bring someone like you along the journey for the search of a property?
You, I mean, literally, when people start thinking, geez, my house isn't working anymore, or, I'm thinking I need a space. Usually the first thing we do is we downsize people's expectation and we say, you might not need an office, you might just need a room somewhere, maybe not 5 days a week, maybe just 3 days a week, because exactly what you said, Barbie, like, space to think away from distractions is, people love using coffee shops. I don't know if you've ever sat in a coffee shop and tried to work. I can kind of do it, but not great. But when I come here, I have nothing else to do. there's no people to look at. There's no, it's just focus time. So I think that's a really good place to start.
Right. Because I think that a lot of people, and one of the other things you stated, Mark, was, people have these big dreams. And they think, okay, I think I need this, but what you do is, as a coach, I want to say, I'm going to call you a coach. You're a realtor, but you're a coach because you're going to really ask them a lot of clarifying questions to be able to help them on their journey to being able to find the right spot at the right time. So, yeah, great. And Indaria, you are here. Yes. So why don't you get it settled for a second, and then I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself, please.
Yes, so sorry about that. I got stopped in the hallway. But I'm Indaria Jones. I am an entrepreneur, native of Syracuse. I've worked in both economic and business development for over 8 years, for our local and state government. And now I'm employed through Syracuse University, and I run our student and alumni incubator. So really happy to be here.
So Indaria, you've seen people and their startup and stuff like that, but I think one of the things that I love about what you've done in your journey is that, you're an entrepreneur. You started out. You started doing the creative lounge. So can you tell us a little bit about what was your journey like to going and trying to find a place to be able to start, to build your business?
Yeah, I think, in comparison to my journey and what we do day in and day out here in the incubator, is really trying to identify and nail down on the problem we're solving for our businesses, in our businesses for our customers. And for me, before I actually got my space, I was really looking for to solve the problem that I had heard far too many in our community. It's just that we needed a space. There weren't that many co-working spaces around. I think it was just Syracuse Co-works at the time, and maybe just two others. And I was throwing gatherings and meetings that people said, "Oh, don't want this one time. We want this all the time." And so the space was actually the solution to the problem that I found. So just like what we do here in the incubator, I would recommend all entrepreneurs is to just make sure that they're first crystal clear on the problem they're solving and how, you know, with their business and clarifying that, and then so that they're set in stone. And then once they get that, try to identify all the other parameters around needing space. Like, okay, who is this solution for? That determines, geography and foot traffic and, looking at some of your local economic development studies or like reaching out to have someone look at them with them so they can understand what's something like surplus and leakage in the area. That's what people are spending in a neighborhood and what people are leaving a neighborhood to buy. And that helps a business determine like offerings and things that they can add to really try to capture some of that foot traffic and commercial traffic to stop at their space. So I think problem solving is always number one, and then once they get down to that, identifying their target will help when they're trying to locate their physical space.
Right, and that's kind of building a little bit on like what Mark ended up saying, really knowing who is your customer so
Oh,
that you
that.
can really think about securing a place that's going to be
Mhm.
able to help them. And you're talking about the problem that you're solving. So yes, great. One other question Indaria, before we move on, get
Yeah.
talking to Joe a little bit, but what's the one question that you had known, or wish you had known, before you secured a space? Is there anything you wish you had researched more, in your journey?
I think my situation was unique because I had revenue, I had clients before I even had keys. I had over 1,000 paying members. Um, and so I think, that might be helpful to others. It's like also don't wait until you have this physical space. Build with who and what you can right now, and try to create a proof of concept, so that you can semi-launch your idea before having all of the overhead of what is having an actual space. So I would say that. And, don't be afraid to negotiate your terms. I was looking around when I was looking for my space. I originally wanted to purchase a property, but it was just really hard trying to find something. And then I ended up negotiating a really good deal for my first 3 years. So I would say always be willing and open to negotiating too when you're looking, whether that's for purchasing or even leasing, um, or having someone reaching out to someone that can help you do that.
Well, absolutely. I love that, reaching out to somebody that can help you do that. Great. Joe, let's talk a little bit about what the downtown committee can do to better understand and how they can support small businesses that want to move downtown or do business with different people and businesses that are in that location. What do you do to support them?
Sure. So on the economic development team, we offer a lot of different data points to business owners, similar to what Indaria had said before about folks who come to downtown, types of folks that are working downtown, living downtown, uh, use downtown for other shopping or services, to be able to determine what your clientele will be like, or if you're trying to target a certain clientele where a good location within downtown, where there's a high percentage of that type of person. So we have data that we can provide business owners who are looking to move into downtown to help them look at certain neighborhoods. We can offer current business owners, we have information for the same purpose, to help them either pivot into something to help them achieve more revenue, or if they're looking to relocate. We also work with property owners, or excuse me, on businesses if they're looking to expand, helping them access different funding options, whether it be through the city or the county or the state. And there's also some private institutions that have funding available, such as National Grid, that we are able to make connections and help people along in that process.
Well,
Within the downtown committee, we also have a marketing and events team who work with businesses downtown on promotion and marketing and getting exposure for businesses for some of the different events that we hold, and also on our social media pages. Some of the events that we undertake at the downtown committee, my colleagues, I should say. A big one right now in July is the Arts Festival, where that is a huge draw for people downtown. And even if you're not exhibiting at the festival, it's still a great opportunity to have a business downtown, just due to the influx of the thousands of people who come into town for the day or for the weekend to go to the festival. They're still going to need a place to eat or park, or walk to the festival. So it's a good opportunity to get exposure that way. Another really great example of something of an event that the downtown committee takes on is the dining weeks, which some of you might be familiar with. This year it was the first 2 weeks of March, I believe, where restaurants and cafes and coffee shops around the downtown were encouraged to have a special for lunch and for dinner, as a way to get people to go out to lunch, go out to dinner, and try new places. And we had over 50 restaurants participate this year.
Wow.
And it created a lot of buzz for people who maybe bring their lunch every day for work. Encourage them to go out a couple times, or for the people who go home right after work, encourage them to stay and get a bite to eat. And also the people who don't come to downtown. So if you're in the food and beverage space, that's a great opportunity for exposure for your business. And along the way, we worked with a lot of the participating businesses on different promotional opportunities. So those are just two examples. There's several others, but no matter kind of what your business is, the downtown committee is here to support you and to try to help promote your business through our marketing and events, but also on the back end, helping provide you with information that will better help you run your business and make strategic decisions on the direction of your business.
Cool. Now, one of the things I want to end up saying to everybody that's on this call, please, if you have a burning question that you would like to have answered by one of the panelists that can help you, please put that in the chat. And if you're on Facebook Live, you can also put it in that chat and we will get that answered for you, because we have Carolyn who will be watching that and can put it in the chat and take care of your, because this is why we're here. This is why we're bringing back the power hours, to be able to bring the experts here online for you and to be able to get the questions that you're looking to get some resources on and answers on, and you're not too sure where to go. Joe, one of the things I wanted to ask you is what makes doing business in downtown Syracuse unique, and what should new business owners be aware of as they start considering moving potentially downtown, because things are booming down there. Things are really moving a lot. So what makes it unique, and what might they need to know more about?
Sure. For the first part of that question, in Syracuse is the commercial and cultural hub of Central New York, and people come from around the region for dining, for entertainment, for culture. They come for their services. They come for their social services, for their medical services. And so there's a lot of people coming here for different reasons. But when they come, they stay. They typically enjoy a walk down Walton Street and Armory Square to do some shopping, or they come to see a show at the Landmark Theater or the Red House Theater. And while they're here, they get a drink before or a bite to eat before. And it's also the commercial hub where, over 20,000 people commute, every day into the city to work at, any number of businesses that are already here. Syracuse, or downtown Syracuse, I should say, has a very rich architectural history as well that in other upstate cities, unfortunately, were torn down through parts of the last 100 years. So there's a lot of history here in neighborhoods like Armory Square, but also Hanover Square. And some of you might be familiar with that. So there's a lot of different reasons that people come downtown. Some of it is for business, some for pleasure, and some of it is for things that they need. And also, if you're looking to open a business or work or live downtown, This is really the only place within a couple hours where you get the urban downtown lifestyle. And some people, they want that, especially young people who have left college. And a lot of people go to New York City, go to Boston. Um, but in downtown Syracuse, you can still have that urban living or urban environment, but without the big city issues. That's not to say that downtown Syracuse or Syracuse as a whole doesn't have things that we, have to address and deal with on a day-to-day basis, but um, we do offer that urban lifestyle that a lot of people like, and people, particularly young people, they want walkability and they want be able to walk to work or walk to the park and walk to do those things that in other suburban type places you have to get in a car and do certain things. So
So
that
everything's right there.
yeah, and um, Syracuse, or the region, but particularly Syracuse has seen a very or a spike since about 2022 of young people moving into the area versus other cities, and part of that is due to affordability. Part of that is due to access. While people do want to live in a place where they can walk everywhere, that we do have access to other amenities around the region, such as state parks and other villages around the area, right? So downtown Syracuse and Syracuse as a whole really has a unique position within the region. In terms of doing business downtown, I touched on most of those before. So, if there's another way, Barb, that I can try to answer your question, I'm happy to, but I feel like
Yeah,
I've
I think you
answered that.
did.
Okay.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, great. So we just talked, Joe is talking a little bit about what's going on downtown, but we just got a question from Sarah. And again, if you're starting a business, yes, it could be downtown, but it could be in the suburbs. And Sarah's asking, has anyone helped with helping someone set up, rent, or purchase a yoga studio? I'm interested in opening my own studio. I'm located in Cazenovia, New York. Mark, is this something that you might want to touch base on?
Yeah, no, Sarah, thanks for the question. We've done yoga, we've done fitness, we've done, kind of a lot of that type of business. And you've got, a couple things in the question there. I mean, number one, you're located in Cazenovia, so I assume maybe you want to open in Cazenovia. But really it goes back to sort of what Indaria said. If you're already teaching yoga somewhere, that makes life a lot easier because you have some revenue, kind of what your budget is, what the market is, things like that. That's usually the first step is, if you're already operating, stay, within reason for where your people are willing to go. But yeah, it's really a lot of that. Identify the customer, figure out where they are, and then just, follow your gut to find the right space.
So one of the things I think here is you are most welcome, Sarah. Building on what Indaria ended up stating about having that revenue to start off with, which really helped her with, negotiating things with landlords. How could, Mark, I'm going to put this out to you. How can a first-time business tenant make themselves more attractive to a landlord or commercial property owner? And again, as Indaria ended up saying, she's got a reputable business, she's got revenue coming in. Is there anything else that you would end up seeing that a potential leasee could do to be able to position themselves better? Oh,
Got
yeah.
it. And Derry has her hand up. I don't know if she wants to
Oh,
jump.
she did? Okay, Indaria?
And I'll get. That's a great question. I definitely want to address it.
Okay.
Oh, it's okay. It's kind of tied into this and also the last one, but Mark, if you want to go, it's totally fine. And I can just chime in after.
So Barb, to answer your question, one of the things that I think, you know, and one of the biggest challenges small business owners have when they're looking for space, and one of the calls I get most frequently is like nobody's calling me back. You know, that's a common problem with small businesses when they start calling the numbers in the window and they're not getting the calls back. And 90% of that I would say is because, you know, whatever message they're leaving, whatever they're saying on those calls is not compelling to the people who are answering the phone. You know, and one of the things, you know, I know we're not supposed to judge people, but we do. You know, the Facebook Marketplace messages I get from people and the handle names they have and things like we look at that as business people and we make decisions on how we're going to interact based on those things. So what I tell business owners they should do is really work on like a short elevator pitch, just explaining what you do and who you are. You know, if somebody calls me and says, "Hey, I don't want to tell you what I want to do because I don't want you to steal my idea," like we get that a lot, and it really puts up a red flag. So the more you can do to make your business look real, professional email address, maybe a Facebook page or an Instagram with some nice pictures. You don't have to spend money on this, but just do what you can to position yourself as a real business. So when I get that call and I go to my computer and I start looking people up, I find exactly what it is and I know the value of it. So that's no, you know, that's really kind of step one. Everyone in here, I'm sure if you're starting a business or operating a business, you have experience doing the thing, you know, and I always use the example of, you know, like if I go out and I say, "Hey, I'm opening a new real estate office," that sounds risky. If I say I'm expanding my real estate business into a new location, it sounds like something they would want more. Um, you know, we get a lot of that. I'm trying to open a thing. People say that all the time. Don't ever say you're trying to open a thing. Say I'm working on opening a thing because that is progress forward and not just kind of wasting time.
Oh, love it. Love it. And you know, Mark, what I love about what you just talked about was a pitch. And you know, we all need to be able to have that pitch, to be able to pitch our business. And the pitch that we're talking and whom we are talking to may need to change. You know, talking to that potential landlord or property owner is a little different than what we're doing for our client. Great. Thank you for that. So that's something for our audience to remember. Indaria, please elaborate and build on that.
Yeah, so I know Sarah mentioned you know, what she should think about before opening her own studio, and then you talked, Barb, a little bit on financing. I just also thought of making a note when a lot of business owners are seeking real estate, I think, or people in general, the first thought is also you know, financing, of course. And a lot of people, in my experience, have automatically go to like grants or funding. And I think while that's great, I think it's important to understand that that's more of like maybe like a support beam, and support, you know, by definition means to bear the weight of. But I think it's important for business owners as they're looking to seek real estate, whether that's lease or own, to put together a legit business plan and understand their revenue, their expenses, how much is this going to cost me, and how can I make this thing sustainable? Right? Like think long term. And so I hear that a lot, and I just wanted to put that out there. While there are opportunities and funding available, I wouldn't make that the bare bones of the thought process behind renting, leasing, or open up your own space. So just business plans is important, and that process also will allow a business owner to put together a pitch, right? Because they'll understand more of what exactly they're doing, and they're not really hypothetically speaking. So, um, yeah. So Megan in the comment, or Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Okay, we'll go on to that, but I want to build on that, Indaria, because a business plan is going to help you map out what you need to be able to do, and it's going to bring you more credibility, because you're going to plan for it. You'll plan for your growth. Not only are you doing all these different things in a business plan, knowing your target market, your operations, but you have to put together a financial plan. What is it going to look like? What are your revenue streams going to be? Where are you going to reach and find your target market? As Market said, know your customers. So yes. Thank you for that. Let's see here. We've got, and again, please pipe in, Megan asks for leasing. Is it typical for the renter to take on build out costs, or will the landlord negotiate any of these costs? Would like to touch base on that.
Barb, for real quick, can I chime in on one of the things Indaria just said? Because I think it's a
Yep.
great point.
Yep.
Um, I think the focus that everybody has when they start looking for real estate is budget.
Mhm.
And I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is they go in focused on budget, right? And we're on a call right now, hosted by Wise, which is, an organization whose sole purpose it is to help businesses create their business, build their plan, right? And I think what a lot of business owners skip is your rent and what you pay in occupancy is a function of your sales. It should always be a function of your sales. It's a line item on the balance sheet, right? So when we go into, business saying, well, I just want to pay as little as possible, because that's what we get, right? That's not always the answer if you're opening a yoga studio, because a yoga studio in a dingy basement that nobody wants to go to because it's cheap is not going to be a successful yoga studio unless classes are amazing, right? So, I think really being able to sit down with an advisor and build those sales projections so you can see year one, what can I afford? Year two, what can I afford? And then continuing to work with those people, to help you guide your business towards those sales projections is so important. It's such a key piece of the puzzle. So please, like, people who are listening, lean into Wise to help you with that process, because just going out and saying, I need cheap space is absolute recipe for disaster.
Yep, absolutely, because it's
Um,
really the whole breadth of everything.
yeah,
It's your client. Yep.
it's a big piece of the puzzle. But going to Megan's question for leasing, really it varies by landlord. It varies by building. But going back to what Barb brought up a little bit, it really goes back to how much the building owner wants you in the building. That's why that's such a hard focus for us. Is if I own a building and you are the perfect fit, I might give you some money. I might clean up a space. I might renovate it a little bit. If you're risky, I'm less likely to do that. Right. So, for new businesses, it's unusual for business owners for building owners to put a lot of investment in, because obviously there's risk to that. But at the same time, commercial real estate is very don't ask, don't get. So if you've done a great job at selling yourself and making your business look real, desirable, an asset to the property, um, don't be afraid to ask for things like a little bit of free rent, a little bit of work to the space within reason. Nobody's going to fly in Italian tile, for a startup, but there are things that landlords are willing to do, all based on who it is, though.
Mark, as you were speaking, one of the things that came up for me was building that relationship with your landlord. Your landlord is going to see potentially value in you, and they're willing to partner with you and have that dialogue, to have that relationship. Their vision is to fill the space. Your vision is to put your business in that space and bring growth and more business. So it becomes a relationship, and it's like you're both focusing in on what you want to do. So great. Let's see here. We've got a question from Antoinette. What are some things banks or other lending institutions look for when applying for a loan to purchase a building? Anyone like to go ahead, Indaria?
Yeah, I can answer that. I would say typically, like Mark said, a small pitch deck or that would help. Your financials matter. So like a pro forma showing your expenses, your revenue, and then what you look to make over maybe 3 years, 5 years. So having your numbers um sort of matter. And then also your experience, because at the end of the day, banks, real estate developers and things like that invest into you. So you want to show that you have that experience to be successful because it is a two-way street. And that's typically what I've done with my properties. And it's been okay. And I think if it's a business, add in the business plan, but really they're looking for those financials to understand their risk.
And and Derry, I'm going to build on that a little bit, and I totally agree. But it's also having the business owner know their numbers and know the assumptions. You can put everything and anything on a piece of paper, but the reality is you need to bring some proof to the pudding, so to speak, to be able to bring the banker on board. Great. So I just want to we're coming at quarter of the hour, and I just want to touch base and see within our audience if there's one more, is there another burning question you have for our panel here today? We'd like to hear you, and you can, if you'd like to, you could raise your hand instead of putting something in the chat. Antoinette asks, should the loan be in the LLC or personal name?
I can chime in on that,
Okay.
Barb. So, it really depends on what I'm purchasing a building for commercial purposes is really like there's a breadth to that. There's, I'm buying a building to put my my plumbing company in, right? Or there's I'm buying a building as an investment property, or that's got multiple tenants and income, and that I think that goes to financing, because when you finance, if you're a business owner, and I hate to crush dreams, and you've been in business less than 2 years, buying a building is almost impossible if you've been in business unless you have substantial capital behind you. Banks want to see that stability and things like that. As to whether or not you put it in your LLC or your personal name, that's really that's case by case, probably a really good question for your accountant. They're going to know your specific tax things and how that's going to impact. From a liability perspective, LLCs are always back in your personal name, I think. I don't know a case where they're not. But yeah, I would float that to a good accountant.
Yep. Great, Mark, thank you. Okay, anything else? Going. One more new message. So let's take a look at this here. Let's see. Okay, and Darius talking about lower risk, experience, pitch, financials, value of property, comps, credit matters, if any issues. Do you want to expand on that, Indaria, at all?
No, I'm fine. I just summarized what I said so they have it on the text.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So one of the things I'd like to do as we're wrapping up, I just want to go around to the panel. If there's one burning piece of advice you'd like to give the listeners, let's take a minute to talk about it. Joe, let's start with you.
One piece of advice.
Yeah, one last burning piece of advice you'd like to give the listeners as they're trying to look for that property.
Um, I have just a general one, not necessarily as it pertains to downtown. Uh, but I've worked with a lot of businesses, a lot of small businesses, owner operator businesses. Um, there are a lot of resources out there. Um, you just have to know kind of where to find them, and don't be afraid to talk to people and to ask. Uh, um, and People do want to see you succeed, and
Yes. Oh,
they,
Joe,
no
yeah,
matter what your business is, whether it's the next big piece of technology or a coffee shop, people want to see you do well. People want to see a new business open up on their street in their neighborhood, and there's a lot of help out there, whether it's through a downtown committee or a program like Wise or an entrepreneur uh, um, advisor or something different. Um, so it's important to engage with uh, Zoom meetings like this with groups like Wise to help you find those services, ask those questions, and get answers.
Joe, what comes up for me as you're talking, yes, ask those questions because the questions are, and people love to help you. They really do. But one of the things we like to say at the Y Center, don't go it alone. So you don't have to do this journey on your own. Indaria, one last piece of advice.
Yeah, I think this is amazing. I love Joe's comments about, there are people out there willing to help. And I think it first starts with us putting ourselves out there so people can see us and be willing to help. So I love all of the people who joined and just taking those first steps, right? But then start thinking about what's next. And I know like a lot of folks are overwhelmed often at the term business plan or financials. But I think that's the beauty of having a program like WISE and all of the mentorship and the one on one support you do is because they won't, we're not alone, right? And business plans are so much different than how they used to be, where, it's 50 pages, 100 pages. So, if they do become overwhelming, maybe just meet with a mentor or someone and ask, what exactly do I need to know? And I just want to work on that. So maybe if it's just your financials, or maybe it's just diversifying your services so you can focus on sales, like Mark said, at least start there, but don't get overwhelmed by the actual word or term that you never start. So, but I think this is a great first step. You all are here, and yeah.
So, Antoinette, you end up saying, how do you find mentors in your niche? Well, one of the things I know that we do at the Y Center, working with a counselor, we will try to connect you with people that will be able to help assist you in your industry and also ensure that you've got the need, someone to work with you you work alongside you if you have an issue. You don't have to go it alone. So um, we can help you. There are different places to go, the Y Center, the SBDC, SCORE for the time being. And yes, there's a lot of information out there. And also the downtown committee, they can help you on some of the information that you may be looking for. Mark, one last big piece of information that you'd like to pass on to our listeners.
Yeah, I mean, so reiterating what everybody else said, lean into the help. I mean, call the people who are here to help you. Mentors, like we opened 57 businesses last year. Every one of them would take a phone call from a new business and be willing to give them all the stuff, right? So, I mean, don't be afraid to call other people in the industry, other people that do what you do locally or even in other places to ask questions, but definitely hook in with Wise, because they have a lot of resources. But as it pertains specifically to space, always keep the customer first hand. I mean, one of the things that is painful in real estate is we have people who never start a business because they feel like if they rent a building, it's throwing money away. Because we've been sold this idea that, like, if we don't own a thing, it's there's no value there, right? Renting space is how most people get into space. I would say out of 100 deals that I do, 95 of them are renting, and they're leasing space because people who own great real estate where your business wants to be don't usually sell that great real estate frequently. So whatever decisions you're making in your business, real estate or otherwise, always try to keep that, customer and how am I serving my customer first and in front.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Indaria. And thank you, Joe. And Carolyn piped in here in the chat. Facebook and LinkedIn groups are a great way to find other business owners in your industry and start to build relationships if you have a more niche industry. Yes, reach out to people. People love to talk about what they're doing. So with that, I'm Barb Stone. I'm one of the business counselors here at Wise, and we are here to help you support your business no matter what journey or what stage you're at. We're here to help you try to get things clarified and figuring out. And then Derry ended up saying a lot about steps. Yeah, what's the next step to take? So with that, I just, again, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Indaria. Thank you, Joe. And stay tuned for the next Power Hour. Take care. Bye. Love it.